today was Bankole Thompson. He is a columnist with the Detroit News. He also has his own show called Redline on Superstation 910 AM, which is right across the road, the driveway from here at Channel 7. So did you drive over or did you walk across the grass?
I literally walked across. Actually, we also have a broadcast later this evening, but you know, I was driving around different polling locations today, and I went to Warren, Michigan, which is obviously the citadel for what might happen tonight.
In Macomb County.
That's right.
The biggest city in Macomb County,
exactly.
One of the biggest cities in the state.
And some of the supporters, and I was talking to some of Donald Trump's supporters, and it was very interesting to hear their perspective. And, you know, there is legitimate discontent with the Democratic Party as it relates to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. But some of the supporters basically told me that, you know, they just believed in Trump. Mm-hmm. It's almost like he's some sort of a political prophet, that they believe in him.
All right, they feel...
one of them, you know, a female told me, you know, it doesn't matter to me what he says about women, you know, he's just a loud mouth, but they believe in Donald Trump.
Is it the populist message that is somehow
Make America great again,
resonating with them, or the fact that I'm your voice, nobody's hearing you, and I'm your guy?
I think there's a personality cult to it.
Right.
Because if you remember Trump's nomination acceptance speech at the Republican nomination, he kept on saying, I. So there's this cultish personality around him that I think people, you know, some of his supporters have really fallen in love with it. And they tell you, look, they don't even want to debate the issues with you. They believed in what he said. You know, one of them said to me, oh, yeah, we need to build that wall. You know, I said, you think Mexico will pay for it? He said, I think Trump has a good business plan for that.
Do you think African Americans are going to turn out in Michigan the way they did for President Barack Obama 4 years ago and 8 years ago? Because I'm not convinced that they like Hillary Rodham Clinton as much as they liked Barack Obama or President Bill Clinton.
You're right. I think Obama's election could be seen in two folds. He was qualified, competent, but secondly, he was the nation's first black president. I mean, since the original sin of slavery and all of that, you put all of that into account, there was the identity politics, the importance of having an African American in the White House. I think what has happened with the Clinton campaign, it's been difficult for the Clinton campaign to transfer that loyalty that Obama enjoys in the black community to her campaign, and I don't think they've really.
Why?
Well, because it's not Barack who is on the ballot. It's not Obama who's on the ballot. It's Clinton who's on the ballot. And let's also remember.
How much is the whole thing about honesty? Is that something that's connecting with a lot of African Americans?
Yes. If you talk to some African American millennials, they don't feel that Hillary Clinton is honest. You know, and they don't feel that he's honest, and that's why it's been very difficult for them to come around Hillary Clinton's campaign. And the Clinton, let's also remember, the Clintons have a very interesting relationship with the black community. It's a love-hate relationship. There were good days and there were bad days. And we talk about the 1994 crime bill, the 1996 welfare reform bill, which created poverty. So, and Hillary Clinton has not adequately addressed some of those issues. I think she's been very fortunate here because Donald Trump has been such a volatile candidate to the extent that it buried some of those intractable issues between her and the African American community. And that's why President Clinton ran here last week, Wednesday, for a private meeting with some 50 community leaders to get the vote out, which in my view was coming a little bit too late.
One of the most contentious issues statewide has been the Detroit public schools and the solution to saving the Detroit public schools. Lansing came up with a lot of money. The governor pushed it. He got people to go along with it. Judge Rhodes, Alicia Merriweathers, and a cast of many, many other people. 63 people on the ballot make up this new school board. First time Detroiters will have a voting say in the future of their schools in a long time. What do you make of that, and what do you think is going to happen? Will they get 7 really qualified people that won't play politics?
You know, it's difficult. I doubt it.
Right,
when you have
history would say no.
Yes,
right?
it's going to be name recognition.
But this is being watched closely by everyone in the state because everybody's money is in it now.
There's no question. So the pain has been spread around across the state. So what is happening, I think, what's going to happen, we may end up seeing names that have been there before. It may be the same set of players who have been at the table coming back again. When you have that many people, it's really difficult because we've really not been able to vet all of these candidates. And, I've tried to Google some of these candidates. There's nothing out there about them. When you contact the city clerk's office, it's just their name and their address, and that's it. So you really don't know who is running for the Board of Ed. And this is one of the most important positions, in my view, in this city. Not everyone should stand up to be a teacher in a classroom, and not everyone should be on the Board of Education for Detroit.
Well, then don't we have a better job? And I mean all of us, not just the media, but the community, the NAACP, all of the groups that matter in this community. Isn't it time that there's some vetting that goes on then, that there is that there's more communication, that there's more of a rigor to make sure that the people that are being put up and being voted for are in fact qualified to be in these positions?
I agree. The stakeholders, I think, should have stepped up. We should have known who the 63 candidates are. There should have been, especially those groups and organizations that see themselves as vested in the future of the community, and the ones that assign themselves, the title of being gatekeepers in the community should have been front and center of vetting these candidates, because we have 63 candidates on the ballot. We don't know who they are. Now, we may have some of the best candidates ever to run for office, but they will not get on the school board tonight because we don't know who they are. It's name recognition.
Let me interject here. ABC News is now projecting that Trump wins the states of Kentucky and Indiana, and Hillary Clinton wins the state of Vermont. So some of the early projections in this presidential race, probably not a surprise really in any of those, but that's the projection that's just been made by ABC News. So,
which is interesting to know, because Indiana is also a rush belt, right? Michigan, Ohio. So it'd be interesting.
Pence, the governor, the running mate.
Exactly. So it'd be interesting to see how that affects Ohio, and of course Michigan, which is one of the biggest stories that will come out of this 2016 election, where Michigan sits in the either the red or the blue column.
An interesting race that a lot of people are watching in the Detroit area is what happens with Representative Brian Banks, who has some allegations.
I thought you were going to mention Brooks Patterson as well.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
We're going to be here for a while. Although you got a radio show to do. So.
We have a situation in which someone has allegations against him.
Right.
And probably will get elected because he made it through the primary and he's running in a very Democratic district.
Right.
But we could find that the legislature down the line may have to say you're removed because you've been found guilty of these charges.
It could possibly be. But what is interesting with the Banks issue, it's that unfortunately in the Brian Banks case, Michigan Attorney General does not have a 60-day rule as the Justice Department would be expected to have, not to influence the outcome of an election, because when he came down with those charges against Banks, there were questions about whether these were politically motivated charges, and do you rain down charges as a prosecutor in a way that may affect the outcome of an election.
All right. So, and he may get out of all this.
All right, now last word, you said Oakland County Oakland County executive race?
I think
Vicky Barnett.
Yeah, I think L. Brooks Patterson is going to get reelected. He's been the dean of Oakland County for a very long time. Like him or hate him, there are good sides and there are bad sides to Brooks Patterson, but he's been the dean for a long time. So I think the dean is going to get reelected tonight.
But he's also performed, at least in terms of his job, whether you like him or not, right?
No, he's performed. This is one of the we're sitting in one of the richest counties in America. He's performed fiscally, responsibly and so forth. But the other issue that I've raised with him is the question of diversity. This is a county that is becoming increasingly diverse. There are African Americans in this county. There are Asian Americans. So you got to be able to at some point your leadership has to appeal to these different.
You're right about that. We are seeing that though in elected politics now in the county government like never before with the positions, and we're going to see, I think, probably more of that going forward. Oakland County is much more diverse place than it was 20 years ago.
No question about it, especially South Oakland County. And if Vicky Barnett does well against him, even if she loses, then that might suggest that there's a crack in the armor.
Yeah, there will be there's a crack in the ceiling.
Okay. All right, we'll start.
It may not be 18 million votes, but.
Bankole Thompson, thanks for joining us. All right, run across the driveway and start your radio show.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Columnist for the Detroit News, Superstation 910 AM, Bankole Thompson, thanks for joining us.
Man of many hats.
On our webcast on WXYZ.com, election.